There's the effect of intense Israeli lobbying. It is a very powerful force in our society.
I'm with Sir Richard Dalton, former UK ambassador to Iran and former UK Consul General in Jerusalem, who has been hitting back at some recent media coverage and recent stances of Western politicians on the bombing campaigns that the US and the Israelis have launched on Iran since the 13th of June.
This government is run by insane Islamic fundamentalists.
You are making quite absurd exaggerations about Iran.
Do you believe Iran was on the brink of nuclear weaponization?
No, and there is no evidence to that effect. This is an illegal aggression.
Richard, thank you very much for joining us today. Richard, I wanted to put to you a quote from GCHQ that was reported in a 2008 document that said that quote, the Israelis remain a real threat to the stability of the region, in particular because of the position of this country, Israel, with respect to Iran. Was GCHQ right at that time? This was 2008, and would they be right to say that now as well?
Well, I've always believed that the United States and Israel together constituted a greater threat to the stability of the region than Iran. This ridiculous Western mantra that Iran is the source of all evil, when all the states of the region, from Saudi Arabia to Turkey and from the United States to Israel to Iran, have been involving themselves in the conflicts in the region to try and ensure that outcomes were consistent with the national objectives of those countries. And of course, at the heart of the instability and insecurity of the state of Israel is that there needs to be a political resolution of the Palestinian question.
Many people have been surprised, maybe even shocked, to see how the extent to which the UK has been supporting Israel throughout its attacks on Gaza over the last 21 months, a genocide. What in your view explains why the UK is so supportive of Israel?
I find it shocking. There are European countries that have taken a much more robust and intelligent and humane and legal stance. Britain has avoided taking clear positions on international legal issues in Gaza because they would be very inconvenient. So they've struck this compromise over arms sales. So some things have been stopped, but others that have caused immense harm in Gaza have continued. And finally, there's the effect of intense Israeli lobbying and the linkage of Israeli lobbying to financial interests. It is a very powerful force in our society. Those who support the Israeli government through thick and thin have traditionally been very influential. I remember at the time of one of Israel's invasions of Lebanon, David Cameron mentioning an encounter he'd had on the steps of a railway carriage with a prominent supporter of the State of Israel, who was also a very prominent, powerful British businessman. And he had to say, I think this is 2010 as far as I remember, that no, there were limits to what we were prepared to support. But since those days, Israeli influence and the influence of supporters of the government of Israel has got stronger, and it has, of course, got powerful political allies in some political parties and in some sections of the media. So a desire for a quiet life and a good career means that many politicians swallow potential dislike of aspects of Israeli policy in order to toe the Israeli line.
And you see evidence of the strength of that Israel lobby, pro-Israel lobby, in British foreign policy making, even within government, within the Foreign Office, within the Ministry of Defence, as well?
Yes. There's no doubt that the Israeli public have a right to be proud of their diplomatic service and the ability of the State of Israel to leverage sources of influence within British society.
I mean, does that raise questions of democracy then, democratic decision making? On whose behalf are decisions being made by policymakers? Are they being excessively influenced by a foreign power? And at the moment, a foreign power that is being accused of conducting a genocide?
Yes, it does. And opinion polls in Britain show that the stances the British government has taken are not in accordance with majority opinion in Britain, who increasingly see through Israeli claims to be conducting a moral war or a war for civilization or a war, as that dreadful German chancellor said, doing dirty work on our behalf. That is sheer mendacious propaganda.
What do you make of Keir Starmer backing the US, backing the Israelis in their attacks on Iran, and not coming out and saying that these are violations of international law?
Well, it's been of a piece with his refusal to get involved publicly in whether or not Israel's actions in Gaza represent infractions of international law or even war crimes.
I'm well aware of the definition of genocide, and that is why I've never described this as and referred to it as genocide.
We have been assured by Number 10 that, as a lawyer himself, Keir Starmer will always seek to stay within international law in what he says or does. But on the occasion of Israel and now the United States' attack on Iran, he has preferred to say nothing, as he has done over Gaza. I believe this is a disservice to Britain and a disservice to the cause of preserving international law.
Richard, what do you make of those claims by some who said that Iran was weeks or months away from being able to put together a nuclear bomb, and that therefore the Israelis conducted a preemptive strike on Iran to prevent them acquiring those nukes?
Well, this is a threat by Israel that has been made on many occasions over at least 2 decades, that Iran was in a position to make a nuclear weapon. No information has been produced to suggest that on this occasion such a prediction was right. The so-called assessment that Iran was getting ready to drop a bomb on Israel was false. The latest statement by the Director of National Intelligence in the United States, Tulsi Gabbard, preserves the position in the formal assessment issued by the American intelligence community in March 2025.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon.
That Iran had capabilities which could be put towards building a nuclear weapon, but had not decided to do so, which has been distorted by so much propaganda and so many Israeli supporters, including to my face in some interviews, that Iran was getting ready to drop a bomb on Israel. No such threat existed.
Why can't you take it more seriously than that? It's 2 minutes to midnight. It's 30 seconds to midnight.
It is not 2 minutes to midnight. It is, according to all the best intelligence analysis, which clearly you haven't bothered to look at, a long way for Iran to actually weaponize.
And you can be sure that if such a threat was able to be documented, we would have heard about it. I mean, more technically, for a preemptive attack to be legal, the right to self-defense doesn't have to be exercised once you have been attacked. It can be exercised before you are attacked if you have documentable grounds for believing that an attack is being planned. One, that the attack is imminent. Two, that the attack is credible. 3, that the aggressor has the means to carry out its threats, and 4, and crucially in the case of the June 13 campaign, that diplomatic means to avert the threat have been exhausted. Iran remained open to further negotiations. Indeed, the 7th round was due to be held and was only aborted by Israel's war on Iran. So by every standard, this was not a legal preemptive attack, and its consequences, though shortened now by the ceasefire, if it holds, could turn out to be a more unstable and potentially nuclear-armed Middle East than before the attacks.
And is Israel an ally of Britain?
Well, how do you measure an ally? Do you measure it by a commonality of ideals and objectives in the world? By that standard, Israel is not an ally. We believe in the self-determination of the Palestinian people. The Israelis do not. We believe in a two-state solution. The Israelis, not all of them, but the dominant ones, do not. We believe that the state of Israel should be based on its 1948 borders. The Israelis do not. We believe that settlements across the Green Line are illegal and an obstacle to peace. The Israelis are bent on expanding them. So on all those grounds of ideals and principles, I think that Israel cannot be regarded as an ally. The next definition is, well, do you help each other mutually in matters of political understanding of the region and in knowledge of potential threats to our society as well as theirs? And in that narrow sense, which is expressed in terms of intelligence cooperation about extremist movements, yes, there is mutual support between Britain and Israel. The third measure of whether a country is an ally is whether it shares a common domestic political system. We often hear that Israel has to be our ally because they're the only democracy in the Middle East. Well, I happen to believe that a state, Israel, that consistently oppresses its neighboring people, subjects them to the inhuman circumstances that they've subjected to them in Gaza, despite the appalling and grossly illegal and immoral provocation of October the 7th, 2023. Still, the balance indicates that this is not a country with a similar set of values to ours.
Richard, thank you very, very much.
Not at all.
Declassified UK is an independent media organisation. If you want to see more interviews like this and more of our independent investigative journalism, please go to our website, please go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you can give us your support, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching.